Thanks, Dominic. So my name is Arshad Zakaria. I'm currently working as a senior DevOps engineer at Electrify Asia Singapore. Let me give a small briefing. What is Electrify? So we are doing a platform for peer-to-peer energy trading, and so our entire infrastructure is hosted in AWS, and we are APN partner with AWS. We are really closely working with AWS Singapore. So our entire stack is running on multiple microservices with multiple languages such as Golang, Node.js, PHP, and React, and some Python as well. So we had this issue before that automating this DevOps culture inside Electrify. It was a kind of a challenge. Yes, we were using Jenkins and such as other tools. So what we have done is once we move to totally AWS, so AWS has nice developer tools. I'll be talking in the future of this session, such as CodePipeline, CodeBuild, CodeCommit, CodeDeploy. There are a lot of things. So initially we were using ECS, Elastic Container Service, which is AWS native container orchestration platform. Which is really good, but we wanted something to go with cloud native, so we went with Kubernetes. So we had a few internal servers and clusters to check the developer's application. So after that, we moved to EKS. So in the EKS with AWS, the challenge is still the AWS CodePipeline doesn't support the code deploy part for the EKS. Which is really frustration sometimes because we cannot easily set up that. So we had support with AWS solution architects or again and again. So they will keep helping us to setting up the about implementing things in our DevOps culture inside Electrify. So this is one of the setup we have done. So this is a basic application I'm going to show you in the demo later. So I'm going to go through a few slides which are like simple two slides like what are the tools and how we are using it like that. So before starting this, I want to give a small heads up that I believe all you're logged in, you have a basic knowledge of AWS and Kubernetes as well, because I'm going to cover like higher level. But if you need any help, yes, please feel free to drop a message or just comment in the Facebook event. I would love to help, and our team others will help. That's the main purpose of these communities, so we can improve ourselves. So if you find anything, if I'm doing anything wrong, please give the feedback. So next time I can fix it. So we all human, we may make mistakes. So let's go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay. Then so EKS. So EKS is the Elastic Kubernetes service, which is AWS, which is provided by AWS. Setting up EKS, setting up a Kubernetes cluster on a bare metal server or a cloud is not an easy task because it's a lot of hassle. You have to connect the nodes and a lot of setups going on. So EKS, within few minutes, just you can create a Kubernetes cluster. So the masternode is not free, as I believe it's 10 cents US per minute. Google used to provide this as a free, the masternode, but now they also charge in the same amount. So this is really easy. You can just go and give a stack name, and you can just create. I will show you later in the demo part. So next, let's go to the developer tools. So AWS comes with a lot of developer tools such as AWS CodePipeline, CodeBuild, CodeCommit, CodeDeploy, and there are a lot of it's up to the Lambda, and you name it like Beanstalk. A lot of options are there. So you should know which application you have to host in the right platform. In case of microservices, that doesn't mean you have to move your monolith application to microservice. It's not a must. It depends on. So it's not a must actually. You have to. There's nothing like you have to migrate everything to your monolith application to the your microservices infrastructure. But you have to decide which application is most suitable. For example, if you have like event-based, like a function-based application, So which is mainly the good option will be Lambda. So for example, if you want to trigger something and with alarm or with another endpoint with another API call, you can just simply use Lambda, which will very cheap and easy. So if you have any application such as running and you need highly scalable and you're running a lot of services, yes, the EKS or EKS is a good option if you're going with cloud native applications, which is running Kubernetes. So let's go to the CodePipeline. Okay, so the CodePipeline is the AWS the tool which is you can create a nice pipeline. So as you know that pipeline comes with a lot of segments such as the code commit part and the building part especially. So the building has like two things like source and artifact. So what you're going to do after the artifact is built, and if you're building a container, so you have to connect with the container repository, you have to push the images, and is with you have to you're like if you have a lot of security features, for example, authentication and authorizations as well. So very easy to use AWS IAM authentications and IAM roles. Very easy, just simple click and you can do it. And once the code pipeline is set up, so it comes with several segments as I told. So first is code commit. So code commit is not a new thing. It's same like your Git repo, your Bitbucket, or GitHub repo. So it is the same as your other your source repositories. So basically, code commit, what its specialty is, it's support with a lot of AWS native features because it's very easy to connect and very easy to trigger. So every pipeline should be able to trigger automatically, right? So I mean, for example, okay, there's a release branch, and for a UAT branch maybe, and the developer wants to push the code to the release branch, and it should trigger the pipeline automatically. So a few months ago, AWS doesn't support that for Bitbucket and some other popular Git repos, as I remember. So Bitbucket is still under demo, but we are testing. It's really good. We didn't find any errors. But if you're using organization unit, there are some policies. I think there are some bugs. I think we have already informed the AWS. There are some bugs. You have to give the policies separately. We can. If you have any issues regarding that, we can do it later. So the code commit part is so for the code repository. So the code build, this is the heart. So every source code you have to build it. Without that, you can't do it, right? So basically, if I'm talking about a Golang, a JS application, yes, you have to build it. So code build comes with a lot of features. Which is like supporting all of your applications. Like you can use your own image for the deploy. I mean build. You can use your own setups on your build specs and stuff. So in the future, the slides I will be showing you how we are going to do it in the practical. So this is the architecture we are going to set up today, the code pipeline. So as I told you, that the entire thing is under the code pipeline. So hope you all can see my diagram here. So the number one is the code commit. So basically the code commit, what will happen? So when a developer or someone commit and push the code to the particular branch or tag, whatever, the pipeline will start trigger. So it will send the artifact number 2 to the code build. So when you configure the code build, it will build your code and create a Docker image or a container image. It will push to the ECR. ECR is the AWS native Elastic Container Repository. So that's for the container image repository in AWS. So here you can easily use your IAM roles to get the authentications and stuff. So once a build is pushed, so later using the kubectl commands, we can deploy run the Kubernetes deployment to the EKS cluster. So this is a basic simple one. So today we are going to use a simple React application to show this. So this is going to be a very interactive session. So I'll be coming back to the slides, and I'm going back to the terminals, and I am going back to the slides as well. So in the code build, yes, we have a few areas to mainly focus on. So one is the Buildspec YAML file. I'll explain what is that, and the Kubernetes deployment file. If you're familiar with Kubernetes, yes, you know what is that. IAM policies and roles, which is really important, and the config map updates. So this is really important. The fourth part is really important. Otherwise, your Kubernetes deployment will fail. So before I go to this, I will go to the first Buildspec YAML file, and I will show. Hope you can see my screen. So this is my sample code. I would like to thank my friend Isuru, who helped me to set up this sample application, because I'm not a React developer. So I thank you very much, Isuru. So here there are few steps in a Buildspec YAML. So in the install command, what you can do is, so how this build is happening in here, when you go back in the code build, in the code build, you can use a custom image or AWS native, like AWS Linux, or as Ubuntu image, whatever the image you want, you can build. So here, basically what we're saying is, once the image is up, so we have to install these packages, because these are required packages to our code build. So here I'm installing a kubectl and AWS IAM Authenticator. So AWS IAM Authenticator is a really important part. So later I will keep reminding this AWS IAM Authenticator, keep a note. So later I will be explaining what is that, and it's really important here. So after that, the pre-build. So pre-build builds, we have to get rid of the code and build pre-build specs. And here that I'm creating the tag. So you can see a lot of environment variables here. So the best part in these AWS, I mean these code build YAML files, sorry, the Buildspec YAML, you can use the same YAML for other applications. So for example, this is a JS front-end application. So if you want to use for your other application, for as a Golang application or Python application, you can basically use the same YAML. So that's the way we have done this one. So you can find these things in AWS documentation. It's very helpful. Later of the session, I can share the resources. So here I'm getting a variable repository name. So if you have a repo name, you can just mention it. And here I'm assigning a variable for environment name and code build result source version. So this means, so every time when the code build is triggering, so there's a unique ID. So basically, so you can see I'm creating a tag variable using these parameters. So end of here, when I'm building, so I'm going to build using this tag. So that's the main reason. So in the EKS deployment ML, so you can see a deployment ML here. Okay, it's a simple deployment ML file. So here you can see the image I'm assigning as the content image. You can see here. So basically, I'm replacing the image to the repository URI with the tag. So repository URI means the ECR containing image URL, and it will go along with the tag. So basically, that means the latest deployment tag, and the image URL will be replaced here as the content image. And here I'm logging to the AWS ECR. So basically, AWS ECR, before logging, you have to get a token. So that's a security feature. So most of the time, a lot of people asking this doubt. So basically, we can do it in another session. So if you have a Kubernetes cluster, you can create a cron for that. So basically, as I believe, every 6 hours, if I'm correct, every 6 hours, you have to remove the token. Otherwise, you can't push or pull from the content repository. So I'm exporting the kube config to the home, and here the building part. So basically, I'm building the image. So there's a Docker file here, sample one. So I'm building using here the tag, and after building. So after the building, so basically we are pushing the container to the repository. So here I'm building in the code build, and number 3, I am pushing the container to the ECR. So that's what happening. So until here, hope you have understood. So this part, this is really important. So here, what I'm doing is I am getting the security token from the AWS. Okay, I'll show from here. So I will think. Okay. So this is you know that Kubernetes Kubernetes service, it has authentication authorization parts. So AWS IAM authentication server I have to get a new token each time and keep the token. So each time you can see from the code build sending the token with the Kubernetes action. From our case, we are running a deployment, and it will go to the IAM ID token, and it will check whether the user is exist or not. After that, it will check with the config map. Later, I will show you how we're going to create a config map. We'll check the config map whether the user is available and is authenticated to authenticate with the API server. So once the authentication is done for the Kubernetes user, it will go and do the authorization. It will check in the RBAC whether this user has the permission to do the deployment or what other actions we are doing. So here I'm using the master, so basically it can do anything. So here, once the credentials are updated, so I'm updating the kube config with the class name. Class name also I will be providing with the variable, and after that I'm running the deploy. So these are the step by step. If you need anyone didn't get this one, please comment so we can work on it, and I can explain you even later how we've done this. Sorry. So IAM policies and roles. So let's go to the console. So before we create the pipeline, we have to create a role for code build part, because here I think, let me share the screen. So the code build, you know that AWS have some roles. So for example, if you want to access your EC2 from your EC2 instance to S3 bucket, you have to grant access and attach the IAM role to the EC2 instance. So that's a basic one. Like for example, if you have some images in your S3 bucket and you're running a web application in your EC2 instance, and you need the IAM roles to access the particular S3 bucket to get the content. So like that, for the code build, we need a IAM role to access particular things. So here, the STS, the token service should be able to access the other IAM roles as well. For example, the STS, what will happen is it will allow to access another role or user from another role temporarily, giving us a permission to execute. So basically, using this role, we'll be accessing the Kubernetes kubectl role to do the deployments. Okay, and yes, we'll be creating CloudWatch cloud logs and ECR full access. So this is for a testing purpose. So you never use the resource all. It's very dangerous. So if you have a particular resource, for example, if you have this particular ARN, AWS resource name for your code build or your code pipeline, whatever other resource you have to mention here is really important. So this is a sample. I'm just showing it all. So this is how we set up the IAM role. So I'll be sharing all the resources. You can try with yourself once you have noted down all the steps. So I'll be sharing all the resources later. So let's go and create the pipeline. Before that, I think it's better to go and talk about these config maps. So before creating a config map, we have to create a IAM role first. The terminal. So as I believe everyone is using a jump host to connect to AWS source always. Never store your AWS IAM username passwords inside your .aws file is very dangerous. If you have like admin permission, it's very dangerous. Better to always use a jump host, like a bastion host, so which you can have the full VPC access to connect with other resources. Okay, guys. So let's create a role. So basically, this is my AWS account, and that account should have the root access, the ASIM role, the trust connection between this account. So once I created, I will show in the terminal how we have done this one. So here, I'm just assign the variable. And publishing a temporary location. You can see here. You can see the policy. So I'm going to create a role named EKS demo app kubectl. So this is the role which we are going to add to the config maps, which will be allowed to do the Kubernetes actions. So remember, this role will be allowed to do Kubernetes actions in the EKS. So this is the role we are going to create. So role is created. So this ARN. So you have to make sure, take a copy of this ARN. Make sure we are using this later. So I'm gonna assign that previously created policy with this role, and okay, done. So what's our role name? This one. Let's go to back to the console. Okay. So you can see the trust relationship which I created here is there, and the permissions here, the EKS describe to all resources. So this is the role we have created using AWS CLI, and this is the role we are going to use. Can you show? Okay, Nilesh is asking, can you show the config secret created on KTS, or was it service account and role binding? Yes, Nilesh, I will showing that later of this one. Yes, I will show you how to update the config map. Okay. So role is created. So let's update the config map. Here, this is the role RN, and the username, the group, the system, and the master. I'm assigned the variable role. Okay, here. So I'm getting the config map, the AWS auth. So the previously I have already set up for my IAM user. So initially, when you create a EKS cluster using IAM user, it will automatically adding that user to the config map in the AWS auth as the system master. So I'm currently using that username to add this particular role to the config map. So YAML is created. So let's say okay, here it is. So we have to patch this one. So let's patch it. Okay, it's patched. Now let's go back to slides. So from here to here, number 4. Now the CodeBuild should be able to have the access to do the deployments. I mean, still we have to set up the CodeBuild. So I think let's go to the console and set up the pipeline, and we'll show you how to set up the CodeBuild part, so you can have the good idea about how doing it. So let's guys at DevOps. Okay. Yes, demo. Okay. And let it be like this. So I'm not going to assign exist role. I'm going to create a new role with. So when you click this one, so what will happen is CodePipeline. We are giving the permission to CodePipeline to add if there anything, any resources which is needed. It will automatically create this one. So here, so I was talking about. Remember that this is the code commit part. So you can see a few stages in my left at source stage, build stage, deploy stage. Now in the source stage is the code commit, the first one. So we are going to use code commit instead of other repositories. You can see GitHub, Bitbucket, S3, ECR, code commit. So S3, I'll give you a good example. For example, okay, let's assume you are using another repository, own repository. You want to use AWS CodePipeline for that. So what you can basically do is you can create a simple script to once the developer push the code, and you can just simply zip the source code and push to the S3 bucket. So from the S3, so when you click the S3 here, I'll show you. You can give the bucket name and the object. For example, if the bucket name is your company name and your project name, blah blah blah, and the bucket names are unique, you're giving the bucket name, and maybe inside the folder is source, project source, and the object key will be code.zip or sample app.zip, like currently here, like that. So we are not going to use that. We are directly using code commit. So I have one repository here. Actually, this is my North Virginia region, so I just created this one only for the demo. So I have only the master branch created. So this one. So Amazon CloudWatch event means what will happen in this if you take this one, if you push a commit changes, the code pipeline will trigger automatically at the moment of the push. So it depends on, like, if you want to push, if you want to trigger while it is a push, or if you want to, for example, if you have a requirement like you want to build every 5 minutes, you want to check every 5 minutes, you can create a CloudWatch event to do that automatically. So our code provided CodeBuild. If you have a Jenkins server, you can set up that one as well, but CodeBuild is very, very easy. So I'm going to create a new CodeBuild project. Okay, here you go. So let's assume as DevOps. Okay. EKS demo. If you want, you can do tags. And so remember, I was telling that you can have your custom image or your managed image here. So basically, if you go back to the code here, so all this thing will install in there. For example, if you have like apt-get update and stuff, so it will support only for Debian and Ubuntu basis. So if you're running CentOS stuff, so you have to use Amazon Linux, Red Hat Linux. You have to use for example, if you want to use Yum package manager, and if you can use those commands as well. Depends on the requirement. So here I'm going to use the manage command and Amazon Linux, the standard runtime. So here I'm going to select standard 3, the version. So you can select whether if you want to use the exact the image version, or you can get the latest version of the 3. So it depends on, if you want to use your own image, you can use. So basically, why I'm always using Amazon Linux, which is the kernel is very light, and when it's booting up very far, it takes less time rather than the Ubuntu. So if you set up Ubuntu, it will take some more time than the Amazon Linux. So Docker needs some admin privileges. So I'm enabling this tick because I'm gonna use a Docker build image. So here I'm not gonna create a new service role. I am going to create the CodeBuild, the EKS. So which is I have pre-created already. Sorry guys. Not this one. This one. This IAM role. I'm attaching there. How simple. And VP setup. So let's assume you have while the code is building, you have to update some DB scripts, which is in your, let's assume you have a 3T architecture and your database tier, which is in the private subnet, and you want to run some DB, maybe table updates, schema updates, whatever the database updates. You can basically set up a VPC here, and you can select what the VPC. So this code build will run inside that VPC and that subnet, which you're going to select the security groups. So which will have the access to connect to the database. So here we don't need that one. So the build specs file. So that's what we're using here. So here we are giving, use this build spec file in the code build stage, what the things has to done and execute while the code is building. So we are just basically using this one. So this is the code we are going to use, the YAML file. So I'm going to use buildspec.yaml. It doesn't matter, you can use any name because it's just a name. And if you, for here, like they say, like if you want to keep your code clean, like I know some developers, they don't like to keep the operations guys, the DevOps guys, YAML files and the configurations, maybe your CloudFormation files in your main code pool, because they don't like that. So basically, you can create a different separate folder, which is a good practice, and you can keep those your maybe your Ansible script or other scripts over there. Right, I'm getting a notification. Sorry guys. So the build spec file is here. So I'm going to enable CloudWatch logs. So AWS native logs up the CloudWatch logs. Now they have contain inside, cloud logs inside. A lot of tools are there. So if you want to keep the logs and you want to check what are, if there are any build fails, if there are any bottlenecks for your observability purpose, you can use that. So let's use here DevOps. Okay. Yes. More. Can use the app and continue CodePipeline. So we have created the build part. So when you go to the pipeline, yes. So the build stage is done. So here, code build is created. So AWS, they have their own the deployment code deploy as well, but unfortunately it's not supporting EKS yet, but future I think they will be enabling that. We had a discussion with some solution architect in AWS. They said yes, future they will be enabling that feature as well. So here, very important. So we have the correction. So we are using some variables, right? Okay. So I'm going to add these environment variables here. I think we forgot to create something, ECR, the content image. So let's go and create the content image. Okay, screen as DevOps. Okay. And here you can make your tag, tag immutable. And this one is really cool. So scan on push. That means it's an image scanner. So if you know that, as I remember, Claire. So which is an image scanner, I think. As I remember, the name is Claire. Yes. So if you enable this before it push, it will scan the image. So just we copy it. We'll go over here. I'll keep copy of that. So we have several variables to assign. So let's go and assign. Repo name. Just doesn't matter. You can give anything. So repository URI, so which is the one I just created a while ago, and okay, I got to copy again. And here, this is the kubectl role. Or remember, we have created a role and assigned to the config map. So this is the IRN. Just gonna copy it. Just here. Yes, Nilesh, we can set up SNS notifications. So it's like, like bake your own cake. You have sugar, chocolate, or whatever things. So you can set it up according to your platform. Your requirement. Yes, you can do that. So let's have the cluster name. This is really important. So I'll show my EKS cluster because I created before, because it will take some few times, right? So few minutes. I don't want to waste your time because we have only just 1 hour, and we have only 50 minutes too. So this is my the basic simple EKS cluster. So don't worry about these things. If you copy it, I'm just gonna delete this after the session. You can't access this anything. And I'm running one. There's a node group here. So if I show you my EC2 instances, there's only one worker node is running. Yeah, this one. So this is our cluster name. That's it. Next. So we are not going to use the deploy because the EKS not supporting yet. So the deploy you can see, it doesn't support. But here, what you can do is, this is, okay, I'll explain this. So this is one of the steps that you can deploy to EKS. There are other steps as well. Like if you want, you can use a Lambda function as well. So later I will give a small brief about that. So I'm going to just skip the deploy. Yes. I'm just going to create the pipeline. So initially when you created the pipeline, it will automatically put the code because our files are already there. Nothing to worry. Buildspec and EKS, the deployment files. So the build part, I will show the build's progress. So this is the reason I enabled the CloudWatch logs. It's really cool. So you can basically tell. So it's still in progress. So I'll see the progression. So as I told, there are other options as well to deploy this. Like you can use a lambda function, and you can use the same. So it's depends on your requirement actually, basically. So here, see. So the pre-install commands. I'm installing the kubectl and authenticator. Here, these are the commands it's executing now. So still the Docker build is running. This part. So it's a simple app, guys. Thanks Isru again for get this done. So if you have any special use cases, such as like if you want to not only related to AWS, like other stuff, like mainly the DevOps related things, so such as different use cases, so please put a no post. I think I can see always people are actively using the DevOps LK group, so we can help. I mean, the community is there, right? So anyone can just comment and help each other, so just go ahead with that. Sorry for the bad connection. Some are having issue with trouble with connectivity, because everyone is working from home these days, guys, because of the COVID-19. And in Singapore also, like we have major ISPs like Singtel, and what's the other one? I don't remember even. So a lot of outages going on. So I'm really sorry if there any delay with that. So after the session, we can use some comments and post. We can share the knowledge. Yes, this scenario, no rollback, but Nilesh, if you can write the deployment script, the deployment YAML according to your requirement, yes, you can use it here as well. It does not even Lambda or the code build, but I hope the AWS will come up with a proper solution for that from the console itself. So do it. Okay, so guys, the deployment is success. So you can see it succeeded here. Should be green color, yes. So I already created a load balancer before to and set up a dummy domain name. What is this? Oh, sorry. So this is a React app running on our Kubernetes EKS cluster. So let's try to do a code change and see how fast we can do it. Okay. So here I'm this version 1. You can see it's here in version 1. So I'm going to use version 2 and save. And some changes. And I'm going to push. So let's go to the pipeline. So once the code is pushed, you can see it will automatically trigger here. See the code, the pipeline is triggered now, and it will move to the code build next. So this is a simple pipeline. You can do a lot of things like you can, if it's a production one, you can put the approval section, you can approve, you can put the SNS notification. So basically your dev lead can approve from that. You can inbuild like other tools like Slack, Jira, like that. It depends on your requirement, guys. So the build is triggering. Next one part, the deployment ML itself, you update the image version. Yes, Nilesh, I'll show you it. So while it's building, I'll show you. So here, I'm using the container image, right? I'm using a variable for the image. And in my build spec file, I'm getting the image where it's contain image here. I'm replacing in the deployment file using the URI and the tag. So the tag is creating with, it will be a unique one because I'm using some timestamp and the unique code build, the resource source version and stuff. And the repository URI, the image URL I used in the variable section. Sorry if I missed it. So later after this session we can have a chat. Yes, I can show you again. So it's success. Ta-da. So if I refresh, it should be changed to version 2. If not, kill me. Okay. So it's a basic application, guys, but the process is same even for all the services. So as I mentioned before, you can use different scenarios and different purposes, these pipelines, and this is one of the basic one. And you can use the Lambda if you want. So I'll share a link with you guys. And wait. Yes. So you know that every year there's an AWS summit happening in every region, South Asia Pacific, Australia, starting from Australia, Singapore, Mumbai, and Europe, US, everywhere. So this year that has been cancelled because of the COVID-19 situation. But they decided to go online. So Electrify, our company, selected as in a slot in the intermediate section, I think slot 6, regarding these DevOps on AWS. So we'll be sharing a session on how we have created these entire pipeline setup using our AWS scenario, and we have done a nice small thing like we have created an Alexa skill as a DevOps assistant, and basically you can use the Alexa skill to use your deployments, and you can check your AWS resources and stuff. So please go and register if you want, if you're interested. It's on 13th of May, it's an online session. And thank you very much, guys. If you have done anything, I mean, issues with these slides or the session, I am really sorry, because I have done this in very short time. And thank you. So if you have any questions, please put in the chat. So we are happy to give you a heads up. Yes. So rollback, yes. It depends on the deployment, Jamil.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Damit, can you take it over?
For the session, and again, thank you very much, Heshan, for leading this specific session with the SAC. And the recorded video of this specific session will be uploaded to DevOps Sri Lanka Facebook group within the day, and SAC will be uploading all these like the use assets and all these samples to GitHub's DevOps Sri Lanka repository, and whoever interested with this specific presentation or demo should be able to do this with the AWS account while watching this recorded video. So again, thank you very much for the participations, and we really appreciate your presence on this specific live event during the COVID crisis even, and we are willing to host several these sort of live events in the future as well. Please keep in touch with DevOps Sri Lanka Facebook group, and we will update you accordingly. Again, thank you very much for SAC, Heshan, and all the backing members, including our UI designers and everybody, and have a great day. Back to you, SAC.
Yes, thank you very much, Damit. So this will be the first session. So please, okay, there will be ups and downs. So just comment, and we'll try to rectify those issues in the next session. And if you have any special use cases, so if I tell about my background, I'm mainly into, I'm not promoting AWS, but I'm very familiar with AWS because since 2013, I'm working with AWS. So if you have any AWS issues, yes, please ask. If you want to have any solution on AWS, yes, I'm happy to help, and other DevOps tools as well. So we have one community, so let's help each other. And please don't touch your faces. And okay. So don't touch your face. Always use sanitizer, and make sure you wash your hands always. Be careful, guys. COVID-19 is not. Don't take that easy. So Singapore's running is very well, but unfortunately there are some issues right now, and there are some number of cases. But I hope everything will be sorted out soon, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye bye.